Oh, hey, it's good to see you again. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of See It Again Cinema. Our film today is Trainspotting, directed by Danny Boyle from 1996. Our guest is Mike. He is a photographer, a musician, and a camera specialist at Rockbrook Camera. And he's also my friend. We went to college together.
That is true.
Yes. Mike, what can you tell us about the first time you saw Trainspotting?
So the first time I saw this movie was on Stars. Oh. And it was, like 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Is that a drug that I'm not familiar with? Stars?
No, it's actually a movie network.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Like a poor man's HBO.
Oh, okay, because this movie deals with like a lot of drug content. So I thought if the first time you saw it, if you were on Stars.
No, I was on ecstasy.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. But that's not true.
It's not true.
No, that's not true.
No.
I did see it on Stars. It was, one of those late night movies. If you're not familiar with how the Stars network works, they basically show the same 10 movies all month long. I watched it. I first saw it, just a snippet of it, one evening, and I was like, what the heck am I watching? I found it on the guide, and I watched the movie all the way through the next night, and it was bizarre.
I rented it because after I had seen Pulp Fiction, people were talking about like this was a British Pulp Fiction, even though I think it's Scottish. And so that's why I watched it. I had no idea what to expect. It made quite an impression on me, so much so that I haven't seen it since 1997. When you did see it all the way through, what were some of your first impressions?
The dialect is very hard to understand. If I remember correctly, there may even be subtitles at some point. It was violent. There is a very violent character named Begsby that I remember who just does absolutely irrational things for, well, I'd say no reason, but alcohol's the reason.
Cheers.
Cheers. I remembered it was just horribly, horribly depressing. It was a real downer of a movie, not to oversell it.
Yeah. Does not make heroin use look attractive at all. The one scene more than any other that has probably made me not so excited to see it again is what I would say is the equivalent of a oh my god moment like that Pulp Fiction had when Marvin got shot in the face. Yeah. But instead it's the breakfast table and a sheet, and it's the night after, and something about that was just so repellent that I probably almost shut off the movie at that point, because I was such a sensitive adolescent. Every time I think about this movie, I think about, oh yeah, and there's that scene there. And so anyone who's seen this before knows exactly what I'm talking about.
For me, it's what got me hooked. There are scenes like that, but then there are also these fantastic scenes in that they're fantastical, where, there is diving into a pub toilet and it becomes this magical world, if you will. But also equally repellent. Yeah. After I saw it all the way through, I don't know that I've seen it all the way through since, but I've seen snippets of it on cable television. And
what makes it kind of enjoyable experience besides the kinetic energy and Ewan McGregor just looking like, I know I said heroin use does not look glamorous, but he is just magnetic as a person, just like has an aura. I do remember that was the first movie I ever saw him in.
It's his breakout role.
Yeah, and it also had a breakout soundtrack.
Yes.
Here's the second soundtrack, Trainspotting 2, number 2. But when I think about the first soundtrack, it was wildly popular, sold millions of copies. It was actually on the trip that you and I took to England when we went to study Shakespeare. I bought the Trainspotting soundtrack over there for £4.99, which probably was like $15 in US. And it was my introduction to Lou Reed, Primal Scream, and Iggy Pop. So it's a great soundtrack. And I'm curious how many of those songs I have heard far more often than I've seen the movie how they're used in the movie, because I don't remember how most of them are used.
Yeah, I don't remember except for a few like party scenes where there's probably, like deep house music playing. I really don't remember the songs in the context of the movie, but I have heard the soundtrack. So.
Yeah. This is a film that you chose for this episode. Why are we revisiting this now?
It's one of those films that I genuinely have not seen probably in 20 years, other than like bits and pieces where I'm just surfing right past it because I'm not going to stop on it. I want to see how 40-year-old Mike digests the subject matter, which is heavy and dark, differently than, 16-year-old Mike did.
Yeah, we're older than pretty much all the characters, I think, in the main cast were, and the actors. But when we first saw it, we were younger than them. Yeah. And I do remember Renton's monologue about choose life, choose this. And it was like a very anti-commercial, anti-capitalist, anti-suburban, rant. And it was really intoxicating and funny and satirical. But I've made a lot of the choices that the film seems to be railing against. And, I'm in my 40s now, so it'll be interesting to see that all these years later. Anything else that you're curious about, or any other topics you want to discuss related to the film?
There are parts that make me laugh in this movie because they are so ridiculous. I want to see if that still makes me laugh or if my life experience up until this point from then has made it less funny.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't know, see if I can understand them talking better.
Yeah.
Having been more places in my life.
The Scottish brogue.
It's not even that. It's like...
the slang?
It's like mumbling. It's mumble talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mumblecore is a thing now. I wonder what Scottish mumblecore is like.
Yeah, not very good. Probably.
Yeah. Well, it's not very good, isn't it? No? Well, unintelligible content. Yes, yeah. That's what we're about.
Ready to tie one off?
Yeah. Let's see.
We don't condone drug use.
No, we don't. Well, you ready to give it a shot? Well, all right. It's time to begin and watch Trainspotting again. We'll catch you after the credits roll. See it again, see it again. Cinema, 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 see it again, see it again. And then talk about it. And we're back. All right, Mike, what'd you think about Trainspotting all these years later?
It was engaging and fast-paced, and the things that I remember being truly terrible, some of them made me super sad and cry, and then others I laughed out loud at.
I won't ask you to divulge which made you laugh and which made you cry, but I will say that there's a lot of that movie I do not remember, and I think if I have to go back to teenage Sam seeing it after renting it from Blockbuster, I didn't watch it with anyone else. I watched it by myself. No one else introduced me to it. The disgusting aspects of the world it depicts, I think, grossed me out so much that I was processing how I felt, or that I was like, I can't believe I saw a movie where like a bed sheet full of feces splattered all over someone. And
I was gagging at the toilet scene.
Yeah.
My God, it affected me much more.
And I think that maybe that's why revisiting it now, where I know that those scenes are going to be there, I also don't remember the baby dying.
So the baby dying was what affected me the most. The way that they did the prop work on the baby, and I mean, I'm speechless. It's terrifying. The worst thing that you could imagine.
Yeah, like, especially because that's probably a more common story of like a toddler born to junkies that then
just kids dying.
Yeah, kids dying, but
this will be a winner. This will be the best video you ever made.
Maybe.
Anyway, yeah, that was truly awful and affected me to my core. And I don't have children.
Yeah. And
some people have children. You might have noticed.
Yeah. Oh, it is a very this story goes to some pretty dark places.
Is that recording?
Yes. What about the film seem new to you now?
I forgot that they had a friend that died of AIDS. Mm-hmm. And when given the cause of death at the funeral scene, Ewan McGregor's character says, what got him? Was it cancer? Was it
pneumonia?
Pneumonia. And he says, no, toxoplasmosis, which is a disease that you get from cats, which I'm almost positive I have, because I have currently at my house, including foster kittens, 10 cats. It's a harmless disease, and much of the population has it. And it's the virus that tells mice to be friendly with cats, and then the cats just come and eat them. And I don't know if that was the director taking a piss, or if toxoplasmosis can actually kill someone who has a compromised immune system, because that's what AIDS is,
I think that's what they're saying is like, look, like the scourge of drug addiction and what it does to families and human lives is similar to the scourge of the HIV epidemic, and that imagine a disease so horrible it could make your immune system vulnerable to something you could get from a kitten.
Yeah, the kitten is what killed him. Spoilers.
Do you have a favorite member of the Trainspotting crew?
I think there's a place in my heart for Spud, because he's the runt and you want to see him do good, and he's the mess up. He's the one that you root for but you don't have high hopes for. But then Mark, because Mark's the narrator, and you kind of just have to root for him because that's the way that the movie is geared. You can't root for Begbie because he's a hothead and he's like your worst. He's a mate, is what they say. He's like the friend who's like, oh yeah, well we had to invite him because
he's our mate.
He's our mate, and no one likes him. And then
because he's a sociopathic, violent, drunk, terrible human being.
Yeah.
I think that this film probably has something to say about. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze.
1, 2, 3.
About the nature of friendship, this idea that even when someone is bad for you, or they're using you, or they're dangerous, that somehow they get past because they're your mate. You know, it's pretty.
But do you have friends that have? I mean, I look at it like these people are doing hard drugs.
Yeah.
And in my social circle now, if someone was doing hard drugs, I would distance myself from that person.
Yeah.
And in the past, in my life, I have done that. And I have reconnected with those people since. And thank goodness most of them are not the people they were then.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about. If you're watching this, you're not watching this.
But they could be. And if you are, we hope you like and subscribe.
1, 2, 3. Like and subscribe.
Please. I need all the viewers I can get. How do you feel the film holds up now? I mean, if this was marketed at the time, or popularly known as like a British Isles equivalent of Pulp Fiction, which I can kind of see why people would think that, but also it hits in a completely different way than Pulp Fiction.
I think what they're referring to is the editing choices when the disgusting goes into the fantastical.
Yeah.
But I feel like the editing choices of Pulp Fiction are a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
They hit harder. This doesn't, and they're more palatable. Where this movie, it's like it just keeps getting worse, and then you wait a little bit longer, and then there's a funny thing that happened, and you wait a bit longer. So I want to talk about something. The way that these sets are designed or the locations that they chose.
Yeah.
A lot of the time there's grime on the walls or there's mold on the molding or carpet or water damage or whatever. I know that that's an aesthetic choice, but at the same time I was recently in the West Midlands. I realize this is shot mostly in Scotland and maybe London. It said location, but those could have been sets. A lot of the places that I visited were like, oh, this is quaint. Like it was, things weren't working. Like you go into a Holiday Inn. We stayed at a Holiday Inn. I'm not going to say where.
Okay.
But like the bathroom didn't really work very well. It ran all night. And the last day that we were there, the shower had split and sprayed water to the sides all over the bathroom. And it left a huge mess for, I'm sorry if you're seeing this, but you're not seeing this. The guest services people, and we reported it, and I heard a phrase there like it'll be done in a Brummy GIF, which gives away my location, but which means it'll be done slowly and not very well. Like, and the main character Mark is selling real estate, and a lot of the places he's selling aren't very good, and that's alluded to in the movie where he has to like, there's a cabinet that won't shut, and he has to like stand in front of it, and it was very of its time. Like late 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. Lots of people are making money really quick and debt is cheap. You know, the apartments rent for £300 a week, which...
That's a lot.
That's a
90s
lot.
currency.
That's $1,200 or pounds a month. And I don't pay that for my mortgage.
Yeah. And it's 28 years later.
And some of you Gen Zers are paying $1,600 a month.
Yeah. How do you see Trainspotting connecting to other films?
You've got Requiem for a Dream, which obviously deals with the hard drug usage, but uses short, sharp, connecting cuts. Like when drug usage is happening, it's like shot of this, shot of the eyes, shot of the face. We go off to La La
Kind of
Land.
replicates the acceleration of the, or the intensification of the effect of the drug.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Says you. Yes. It's a good explanation. But also I go to, we're going to have to cut there.
It's okay. I cut all around stuff.
Okay. So the other one that it reminds me of is Snatch, because it's a heist movie, because the third act of this movie is a heist.
Yeah.
And there's double crosses, right?
Yeah.
And you see it happen, and there's a psychological interplay between the characters. You've got Sick Boy, who's the pretty boy pimp. You've got Bigsby, who's the psychopathic physical enforcer. You've got Spuds, who's the lovable but inept. And you've got Mark, who is our unreliable narrator.
They're kind of like the Ninja Turtles. Bigsby's Raphael. Spud is...
Michelangelo.
Yeah. And then... Renton is Leonardo, or is he Donatello? Because I get the impression that
I think Donatello would be Sick Boy.
Except...
Because Donatello's smart, but whose plan was it? Sick Boy came to them with the plan.
So then he seems more like the leader.
Okay, sure.
I think he's like he's the leader, but then... Yeah, it's an interesting...
On the playground, which Ninja Turtle were you?
Well... I wanted to be Donatello because I liked the bow staff. I thought it was a cool weapon. But when I got older, I realized I am Leonardo. Like, I'm the one who's like, come on, guys, we've got a plan. We got Master Splinter wouldn't want us to be doing this. The same as in the X-Men, Cyclops is my favorite X-Men. And no one wants to be
no.
But I really appreciate his loyalty to Xavier's dream. Okay.
I was Michelangelo just because my name's Michael.
And you're a party dude.
Yeah, apparently I'm a party dude.
Yeah.
I wish I could stop partying, guys.
I know.
Slurms McKenzie.
Just one more hit. Oh, no. Wait. This is our call to action. So what about you out there? What is your favorite film that depicts heroin usage? Let us know in the comments below.
Ew.
What? Now, Mike, you're a photographer. You have made music videos, short films. The ones, my favorites are the ones you did for the rock group Dude Won't Die. Yeah, they're really good. You're someone who can recognize focal lengths, depth of field, split diopters, and other things that sound like this. Mm-hmm. Helicopters, other things. What are you seeing in the film that someone who doesn't know about camera lenses and techniques with them?
So if I was director of photography on this project, what would be going through my mind? This was accidentally Wes Anderson before Wes Anderson. There's a scene when they walk. There's a condominium shot that's perfectly symmetrical, and it's like 4x4 different curtains, different things, and the way that at least in the edition that we saw, the way that it was color graded was like a harsh, colorless pavement scape to like these inner worlds, right? You've also got the obvious nods to westerns when the train pulls away and the gang is left standing on the platform and they're looking off to their next thing, which is the walk that they're going to go on to. There are nods to, I think you even alluded, was it Goodfellas?
Yeah, the scene when we first meet Begbie and he's telling the story involving the pool hall and the fight. And it's really hard to follow. You don't understand what he's saying until you hear Tommy's side of the story. Begbie reminds me quite a lot of Tommy from Goodfellas, as far as his anger, his violence.
That gets away from cinematography, though.
Oh, yeah. I just... But I do think that the scene when we first see Begbie, and it's kind of zooming in on the table while he's in the center telling the story, there's some framing there. Also, when the screen pauses, that kind of freeze frame, that's also a technique that Scorsese and Thelma Schoonmaker.
Yeah, jumping back and forth in time, too.
Yeah. I see some Scorsese-esque qualities to Danny Boyle's work.
A lot of this was shot on prime lenses. Mm-hmm. You did mention zooming in that pool hall scene. There's some zooming, but that's more likely a dolly shot with a medium prime lens. A lot of this is shot at the normal focal length, which is like 40 millimeters, 50 millimeters, kind of like what our eyes see. There's no, except for when the plane is going across the apartment buildings and it's magnified, that's probably like a 600, 800 millimeter lens. And that was probably a very expensive shot for them to do. But a lot of this was just shot on a prime normal focal length lens. Nothing fancy. It was about the composition, which is, taking me back to that apartment complex, or when you're in these grungy, grimy flats that they're in, like they're usually angled up.
Yeah.
Because they want you to see the water that's been dripping onto the floor over ages.
Yeah.
Or they want you to see like the shittiness of the bathroom stall. The shots in the dance club aren't particularly wide to show the dance floor. They're medium. And I think a lot of that is because you don't want to cast 100 people. You want to cast 20 people, for those shots. I was right about subtitles, but it's because the music was too loud. Mm-hmm. Not because you couldn't understand what they're saying. I still can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah, it would be interesting to rewatch this film with the subtitles on, because I am sure that there are lines of dialogue that I didn't
They
catch.
were left out. In where there are subtitles in the nightclub scene, you hear Spud say a sentence, and it's reduced to no. I would say earlier I said it was a big downer of a film. I don't think it's a big downer of a film. There are parts that are downers, but my takeaway today was do what you got to do. Like, live your life, choose life.
Yeah.
But I'm pro-choice. And cut. Choose a life that's worth. Choose a life.
Yeah, go on.
Choose a life that's worth living, not a life of convenience and
all mod cons.
Yeah, mod cons.
Yeah. I think that the film has such a great soundtrack and energy to it, and that the characters are very memorable in their almost cartoonish kind of, I think about like the way the gorillas are depicted. Like there's a certain kind of similar quality of the grime, but also the lust for life of it all. I'm glad that the film in the middle did have such an emotionally wrenching, like, look at the cost of this lifestyle. Like, and I think that balances out, because I haven't seen very many movies that I would say are pro-drug. Almost every movie that I've ever seen that has a lot of drug usage ends up depicting it in a way that doesn't make me want to pick up a needle.
No, it's not complimentary of that lifestyle at all.
I'd like to talk about that final shot where he's talking about what he does choose, because I didn't remember the ending of this story at all, where he rips off his friends. But as he's zooming in, there's such a profound effect as they make his face and his smile turn into kind of this distorted, almost David Lynchian, blurry clown mask. Like, that was do you think that they did that all as an in-camera effect? Or is there something else that made him look?
I guess I'd have to see it again to get your point, but I would imagine you'd do that in makeup and then acting, right?
Yeah.
Give it the beans with the smile.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's down to acting. Like, you're not saying goodbye to a friend. You're saying, like, ha ha, I got you, sucker, to a friend. So make it big. Make it bigger.
It hit a little differently now.
For sure. For sure. This movie hits way differently now.
Yeah.
I brought all of this stuff.
Yeah.
From Rockbrook Camera. And
can they check it out? rockbrookcamera.com?
Yeah, they can, or they can come into the store and talk to me.
Mm-hmm. I have a global audience, so.
Well, you have a hyper-local audience, and that's what I love about you. Hyper-local audience.
Most of my guests are from the local area.
Things that do this. Rockbrook Camera.
Yeah. So.
It's magnets. How do they work?
Yeah. Mike, thank you for being on the show.
I really loved being on the show. I enjoyed the movie.
Me too. And for longtime viewers of the channel, you might notice how it's lit better. Mike brought some lighting equipment. I'm hoping to pick some up and make the show lit from here on out.
Oh, it's going to get lit.
It is. Literature. I love it. We're English majors.
Woo. Yay.
Well, all right. That'll do it for this episode of See It Again Cinema, where old movies make magical new memories. Thanks for rewatching, and we'll see you next time. See it again, see it again. Cinema, see it again.